Howdy and welcome to the Rimrock Report. My name is Doug Tollison and I'm a range specialist for the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension. I'm specifically located at the V Ranch. Today's topic is visually estimating grazing utilization. Now, a lot of us have probably done this, and we've probably been assisted in this effort by a tutorial or a photo guide, maybe some slides that we had in a classroom presentation, which would show us range grasses that have been clipped or mowed down to certain levels, and then we would have information as to how much dry weight material had been removed from those various pictures. Now, this is a good teaching tool, but the problem with that is that we don't often see plants in that type of a situation. More often what we see is that which is presented for us here by this western wheatgrass. We've got some leaves that have been bitten off at different levels, some that have not been bitten, some that perhaps have grown since the plant was bitten, and then we've got some plants here in this particular slide that have not been grazed at all. And so this is a lot of times what we're going to see in a real world grazing management situation out on a rangeland. Another thing to consider is that there is not a perfect linear relationship between the height and the weight of plant material, in these bunch grasses in particular. More of the weight of that plant is going to be concentrated closer to the base. So if we think about our old rule of thumb in range management of take half, leave half, and we look here at roughly 50% utilization by weight, we can see that we would have only, probably still have maybe 40% of the height left of that particular plant material. So a bit of a curvilinear relationship, not quite a straight linear. So these two things, that grazing is not always occurring evenly, and we do have this height and weight relationship that is not in a perfect line, more weight concentrated at the bottom. These two things are going to affect our visual estimation of grazing utilization. So what I'd like to do here with this slide set is to walk through some pictures that we took of actual range plants out in a pasture here at the V, and we're going to defoliate those at certain levels, and we've weighed and clipped those, and we're going to give you the number for what that relationship is, and kind of walk through this in a series of steps. And the first we will do will be, in our traditional sense, we'll mow these down at a very even level and kind of get our eye calibrated that way. And then we will look at some plants that are defoliated in a little bit more of a natural graze type situation, even though we did create these with clippers. I'm going to give you a little bit of time as we move through these before we put a number up on the ones that have been clipped to take a shot at estimating what the utilization would be on these, and then we'll put the number up for you. So this first plant, you can see utilization obviously 0. We've got a full plant here, and I want you to notice this particular plant is, this tubosa is very dense, very thick, heavy base plant, and that's going to come into play as we start to look through these slides. Okay, take a look at this now. We've got a certain even level of defoliation here, so look that over, thinking back to what the full-size plant looked like, and give us your best estimate of what you think the utilization would be. We can see here it was 15%, so hopefully you got pretty close to that. And again, a lot of the material that was removed here was stems, the end, the tips of leaves, that sort of thing, so relatively less mass there in the upper part of the plant. Okay, now let's look at this one. Same plant, more material removed, so look that over and give us your best guess on what you think the utilization would be there. $55%. Now I'm going to guess that a lot of us probably would have guessed that a little bit higher. But again, look at how dense and how thick that plant is down at the base. And finally here, now we're going to have, I've called it 99% utilization. We've clipped it to the ground, but there's obviously going to be a little bit of material left there that we're not going to be able to clip. Now let's look at another plant. These two plants were about 10-15 feet apart out of the same pasture on the same day. They were similar in height and circumference of the plant, but we can see this plant's a lot less dense than the other. We can actually see some of the blue through the background on this one. So here's the full plant, 0 utilization. So look that over and kind of get that picture in your mind. Now let's take a look at this and give you a little time to guess what you think the utilization would be. This was sort of like giving this a haircut. We took a little bit off the top and off the sides. So the utilization here was about 10%, so not that much different than the first slide we had on the previous plant. Alright, let's move along. Now this plant, again, not defoliated in an even way at all. We've got some taken out of the middle here. We've taken these two portions off of the side here down a little farther. Some portions off here that may not show as well in the slide, but again, more of a natural type situation that you would see an animal that would come and take just the parts of the plant that they wanted. Okay, our utilization here now is 40%, so less than what we had on the second slide in the previous plant. And then again we follow that with almost complete utilization where we clip that down to the ground. Now let's finish this up by looking at these two plants side by side. Let's kind of walk through this again. So we can see the two plants here, no utilization at all there, side by side. And then the first slides that we had of each of the pair, 15% in the more dense, thick plant there on the left, 10% utilization or plant removal on the slide on the right, and now 55% with the one plant on the left and versus 40% for the plant on the right. And again, very different appearance to these plants and a different amount of removal. And so what I hope that we've accomplished here with this as we end up the slide set is to get you to have an appreciation for what grazing utilization is going to look like in an actual range setting, and hopefully encourage you to go out and spend some time, maybe clip and weigh some of these plants, maybe develop some curves of your own that you can use with maybe the forage utilization wheel that you can get from the Forest Service, or spreadsheets that are available from various extension departments. And again, this is a skill that requires some practice, so go out, spend some time on the rangelands looking at grazing utilization, taking some of these measurements, calibrate your eye, and you'll develop a good tool that will help you in managing rangelands. Thank you very much, and I hope you'll come back and visit us again at the Rimrock Report.